The night sky over Crimea was calm until it wasn't. At around 2:45 a.m., a thunderous explosion shattered the silence, lighting up the horizon in a blinding flash. The Kerch Bridge, Russia's vital lifeline connecting its mainland to occupied Crimea, was once again under attack. Flames engulfed sections of the structure, and pieces of metal rained into the dark waters below. This was not just an explosion, it was a message. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Conflict Front Stories channel. Please subscribe and like my videos as we dive deep into one of the most shocking developments of the war, the reported collapse of a section of the Crimean Bridge after what appears to be a bold and calculated Ukrainian strike. Cameras from the nearby coast captured the fiery glow as one of the bridge spans crumbled. The bridge, a key symbol of Russian power and pride, stood as the only direct connection for Moscow's troops and logistics to the occupied peninsula. But tonight, that connection has been severed, once again testing the strength and strategy of both sides. Exterior shots show emergency lights flashing in the distance, rescue boats rushing toward the flames. Thick black smoke rises into the night sky, visible even from satellite images. Interior shots from Russian dashcams reveal chaos cars stopped mid-crossing, alarms blaring, and terrified voices shouting over the roar of fire. Moscow quickly blamed Kiev, calling the explosion a terrorist act, but Ukrainian sources, as usual, offered subtle hints instead of outright confirmation. A senior Ukrainian security official reportedly told local media, "The bridge is a legitimate target. It brings weapons, soldiers, and death to our land." Interior reports from Russian state media tried to downplay the damage. They claimed only the road section was affected, not the rail line, but satellite photos and eyewitness videos tell a different story. Two spans appear to have collapsed completely into the sea. The supports beneath show visible cracks. The fire burned for more than 2 hours before emergency teams could bring it under control. Exterior footage from early morning shows a grim scene: twisted metal, collapsed asphalt, and scorched concrete pillars. The proud Kerch Bridge, which President Vladimir Putin once drove across in triumph, now lies partially in ruins, a reminder of the war's cost and Ukraine's persistence. For Ukraine, this is more than just a military strike. It's psychological warfare. The bridge is not only strategic, but deeply symbolic, a link built after Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, costing billions of dollars. Destroying it hits Russia at its pride and disrupts its military supply routes to the southern front lines. Interior military analysts in Kiev say the operation may have involved sea drones, small, fast, and deadly. These unmanned surface vessels, packed with explosives, have become Ukraine's new secret weapon. Launched silently from the coast or from hidden bases, they move at high speed, often under radar detection. Previous attacks on the bridge were blamed on similar maritime drones. Exterior footage released by Ukrainian sources shows a sleek black object speeding across the waves before a bright flash fills the screen. If confirmed, this would mark one of the most successful uses of naval drones in the conflict so far. It signals a new phase of the war, one dominated by precision, technology, and intelligence rather than brute force. Inside the Kremlin, the mood is tense. Russian officials are furious. Within hours, Putin convened an emergency meeting, calling for tighter security around all critical infrastructure. Russian defense channels on Telegram exploded with anger, demanding revenge. Some even criticized the government for failing to protect the bridge despite months of warnings. Interior discussions within Russia's Ministry of Defense reportedly turned chaotic. Military commanders are now forced to reroute supplies through the long land corridor stretching from Rostov to Crimea, a route constantly under Ukrainian drone and artillery fire. That detour adds hundreds of kilometers to every trip, slowing the movement of fuel, ammunition, and troops. Exterior satellite images show convoys stuck on dusty roads in southern Ukraine, vulnerable and exposed. Ukrainian artillery units have already begun targeting these alternative routes, aiming to choke off Russian logistics and weaken their grip on occupied territories like Melitopol and Mariupol. Meanwhile, inside Ukraine, celebrations erupted online. Social media flooded with memes, flags, and messages like "Crimea is Ukraine." But behind the humor, there's strategic calculation. Kiev knows every strike like this weakens Russia's morale and boosts Ukrainian confidence at home and abroad. Interior scenes inside Ukraine's military command centers are said to be electric screens flashing, radio operators tracking targets, and generals exchanging brief smiles. For months, Ukrainian intelligence had likely monitored the bridge's movements, waiting for the perfect window. When Russian naval patrols were light and the weather calm, the operation was launched. Exterior reports from Crimean residents described the shock of the night. "The sky turned red," said one local. "It felt like an earthquake." Russian authorities immediately shut down traffic, evacuated nearby areas, and suspended ferry crossings. Panic spread as rumors circulated about possible follow-up strikes. Interior security officials in Moscow attempted to control the narrative, announcing repairs are underway and no casualties. But photos circulating on Telegram show burnt vehicles and rescue workers carrying stretchers. The truth remains uncertain, yet the impact is undeniable. This latest strike comes at a critical moment. Ukrainian forces are pushing in several directions near Tokmak, Robotyne, and the southern Zaporizhzhia front. Cutting off Crimea's supply lines could isolate tens of thousands of Russian troops. It's a strategic move designed to stretch Moscow's already strained logistics even further. Exterior analysis from Western military experts suggests that the timing of the attack was deliberate. It coincided with major Russian losses on the Eastern Front and growing unrest within occupied territories. Hitting the Crimean Bridge at such a moment amplifies the pressure politically, militarily, and psychologically. Inside Russia, propaganda channels scrambled to spin the story. State TV anchors tried to project calm, showing clips of construction workers preparing to rebuild stronger. Yet online, nationalist bloggers fumed. "How can we defend the front if we can't even defend the bridge?" One wrote. "The cracks in Russia's information control are becoming harder to hide." Exterior political reactions also came swiftly. The United States and European leaders declined to comment directly, but reiterated their support for Ukraine's right to defend its territory. Meanwhile, NATO intelligence reportedly monitored the incident closely, using satellite data and radar signatures to trace what happened. Interior economic analysts predict that this attack could disrupt not just military logistics, but also civilian supply routes into Crimea: food, fuel, and daily goods. Long lines are already forming at gas stations across the peninsula. The sense of vulnerability is spreading among Crimean residents, many of whom had believed the war was far away. Exterior scenes from Sevastopol show heavy military patrols, checkpoints, and the sound of helicopters overhead. Russian authorities are tightening control, fearing more attacks. Every vehicle, every boat, every drone near the coast is now being watched. Yet even with all that surveillance, Ukraine has proven it can strike anywhere, anytime. Inside Kiev, Ukrainian officials remain cautious but confident. They understand the global significance of such a move. It's not just about one bridge, it's about demonstrating capability and resolve. Each successful strike chips away at the illusion of Russian control over Crimea. Exterior voices from the international community echo a growing belief that Crimea may no longer be untouchable. The once mighty bridge symbolizing annexation is now a symbol of vulnerability. Interior discussions within Russian media suggest that Moscow may respond with a new wave of missile strikes across Ukraine. Air defenses are already on high alert. The Ukrainian Air Force has reported increased Russian activity over the Black Sea and southern regions. Kiev's population prepared once again for possible retaliatory bombardments. Exterior observers on the ground in southern Ukraine describe a war that's evolving rapidly. Technology and intelligence are replacing mass assaults. Drones, cyber operations, and precision strikes define this new phase. Ukraine's ability to hit deep inside Russian-controlled territory reflects not only innovation but international support and growing experience. Inside Ukrainian society, the morale boost is clear. Each attack that weakens Russia's image strengthens Ukraine's sense of justice and hope. People gather in cafes, phones in hand, watching videos of the burning bridge and whispering maybe the tide is turning. Exterior analysts warn, however, that while the strike is symbolic, it won't end the war. Russia still has vast resources, and retaliation is certain. The battle for Crimea, if it comes, will be long and costly. But the psychological blow is already done. Inside Russia's corridors of power, Putin faces a growing dilemma. To admit the bridge was destroyed by Ukraine is to admit vulnerability. To deny it risks further credibility loss. Either way, the image of total control is cracking. Exterior footage from the day after shows Russian engineers inspecting the site, wearing gas masks as smoke still rises. The damage looks extensive. Cranes and barges move into position, but progress is slow. The sea currents around the strait make repairs difficult, and Ukraine could strike again at any time. Interior experts within Russia's military logistics warn that restoring full function could take weeks or months. That delay could cripple Russia's ability to move heavy equipment to southern fronts, especially tanks and artillery. Every day the bridge remains broken is another day Ukraine gains strategic advantage. Exteriorly, the world watches. Global media outlets replay the explosion footage again and again, marking a turning point in modern warfare, one where drones and precision tactics can destroy billion-dollar structures. The balance of power on the Black Sea is shifting before our eyes. Inside Ukraine's government, President Volodymyr Zelensky is briefed on the aftermath. His message to the people is short and sharp. Crimea will return to Ukraine. Every structure of occupation will fall. His words carry both defiance and determination, a reflection of the nation's collective will. Exterior voices from Russian-controlled Crimea describe growing fear. Some residents are packing their belongings, preparing to leave. Others speak of sleepless nights, constant alarms, and uncertainty. The illusion of safety on the peninsula has been shattered. Inside Western think tanks, analysts argue that this event could influence the war's diplomatic landscape. If Ukraine can consistently disrupt Crimea's connections, Russia's occupation becomes less sustainable. Talks of future offensives toward the peninsula are now being discussed more seriously. Exterior maritime experts say the attack also highlights a new era of naval warfare where inexpensive, remote-controlled sea drones can cripple multi-billion-dollar projects. The cost-benefit ratio favors Ukraine, allowing it to challenge a superior navy with ingenuity rather than size. Inside the Russian public, frustration is rising. Online channels once loyal to the Kremlin now express doubt. If we can't defend our bridges, how will we defend Crimea? Asks one blogger. It's a question many Russians are now quietly asking. Exterior reports show that reconstruction efforts are underway, but even temporary fixes won't restore the bridge's symbolic power. The cracks in the asphalt are matched by cracks in Russia's confidence. Inside Ukrainian circles, the success of this mission is seen as part of a broader campaign to isolate Crimea, demoralize Russian forces, and prepare for the future liberation of the peninsula. The message is clear: every inch of occupied land will be contested. Exterior experts conclude that the fall of the Crimean Bridge could mark the beginning of the end for Russia's grip on southern Ukraine. Supply shortages, logistical nightmares, and internal pressure could erode their operational strength over time. Inside the hearts of Ukrainians, the explosion represents more than destruction, it represents justice. The bridge that once symbolized annexation now burns as a sign of resistance. Exterior night returns to the strait. The waters are calm again, but the smoke lingers, drifting into the dawn. Somewhere, engineers are still measuring damage, while soldiers on both sides prepare for what's next. Inside command centers, maps are redrawn, new targets marked, and new strategies born. The war has entered another unpredictable chapter. And as the world watches the flames fade from the Crimean horizon, one truth becomes clearer than ever in this war. No structure, no fortress, no symbol of occupation is safe from the reach of determination and innovation. Thank you for watching Conflict Front Stories. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video for more breaking updates and detailed analysis from the world's most intense conflict zones.